Good afternoon, folks. This is David Shapiro, and welcome to New Developments in Ethics and the Law. Let's talk about the concept of a standard of care. What is a standard of care? First of all, people who tell you that the APA Ethics Code or the specialty guidelines is a standard of care are just mistaken. These standards of care are dictated not only by professional standards and guidelines, but by the prevailing judgment in the community at any given point in time. So the standard of care overlaps with what is in guidelines and standards, but contains a number of other things as well. So, for instance, the definition of a standard of care is the level of practice of the average or relatively prudent professional. Now that may sound unnecessarily vague. Level of practice of the average or relatively prudent professional. However, believe it or not, it is for your protection. Because what this is saying is the standard of care is not the level of practice of the most outstanding or most sensitive or most intuitive or most highly published individual in your discipline. It's the level of practice of the average practitioner. So what is an average practitioner? Well, it then gets back to someone who practices in accord with the ethical standards. Now, what its relevance to licensure and malpractice issues is that all such issues, whether or not somebody has committed professional wrongdoing such that their license is on the line, whether or not they have committed malpractice, where they have deviated from a standard of care and someone is harmed, a patient or client is harmed as a result, those all are based on the concept of a standard of care. If there is no well-defined standard of care, there can't be any licensure complaint, there can't be any malpractice. There can't be any ethics complaints. By the way, the difference between licensure and ethics complaints on the one hand and malpractice on the other is that for licensure and ethics complaints, all the person who is complaining has to assert or prove is that there was a significant deviation from the standard of care. For malpractice, you also have to prove that there was damage, there was harm or injury, and that it was the deviation from the standard of care that caused the harm or injury. So for licensure and ethics complaints, you don't have to prove injury. All you have to prove is the deviation.